Hello, everyone. This is Political Chit Chat, and I'm your host, Gonzalo Duran. Today's honored guest is Larry Sharpe. Larry, thank you for being here.
Of course. Happy to be here again. I love this show. I love that you actually do local programming. So few people do it. I appreciate it.
And not only do we do it local, we make sure we do it consistently.
Also true, yes.
One of the biggest problems that we have is that the mainstream media gets the top contenders, but we have to build a foundation from the bottom up. That's one of the things I think we're missing in politics.
I think you're right. I think many times people think that everything's about the top line, when in reality, often locally is where we can make more improvements, more changes, and have more impact.
Thank you for saying that, Larry.
Yeah.
Now, for the audience that may not know who you are, would you mind giving a brief background?
Yes. If you don't know who I am, what's wrong with you? I'm kidding. I'm Larry Sharpe. I'm running for governor of New York. I know it's insane. It's my third run. And the reason why I'm running is because I'm insanely good looking. I'm kidding. It's because I actually want to change things. I care about New York. It's my third time running. I ran in 2018. I was able to get ballot access for a third party in New York State, Libertarian Party, which was amazing. The rules have changed since then, and they have wiped out all third parties in New York State. The sad part is last year, New York State was the only state in the entire union that had no independent candidates on the ballot for president. Some states had 6 or 7. We had 0. In 2022, it was the first time in almost 100 years when New York State had no independent candidates on the ballot for governor. And you might go, well, is that bad? Well, according to New York State law, you can only become a political party if you have a governor or presidential candidate. So if they're going to keep those off the ballot, there's never going to be any other political parties except the ones we have now in New York State, which means no change. We have to make this happen. I'm working with the Libertarian Party and also the We the People Party, so I can get 2 lines taking advantage of fusion voting here in New York State.
Now, the reason why I'm so excited to have you here, not only because you're a great guest and all the work that you're doing, but you're also a veteran.
True, absolutely.
Now, not only a veteran, but just happen to be a Marine veteran on top of that.
That's the best kind of veteran. That's the best kind of veteran. I wear my Navy Achievement Medal every day.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Now, that being said, that's part of your background.
True.
You're not only a veteran, you have run for governor in the past.
Yep.
You're also a business leader in the community. You do a lot of work with the community.
True.
Would you hit on a few of those things?
Yeah, I've taught at a couple of colleges. I've taught at John Jay, Veteran Transitions. I've taught at Jericho Project, also Veteran Transition, trying to get people, the best way possible from service into service again in the community. And as you know, it's challenging for many people, particularly those who are combat veterans, even tougher. But even not combat veterans, it's still challenging to go from a brotherhood into the regular world, particularly if it was their first job. Very challenging. There's a lot of that. I've taught at Columbia and Yale at their graduate level also, and I'm a business consultant, been an officer in a public company a couple times. And as always, I try to make things work here locally. I wish I had done more stuff, but I've been running so much, so I haven't been doing as much work as I used to do. I did a lot more, particularly for the National Guard. Veterans coming out of Afghanistan was a big deal. Now I do much more political work than I've ever done.
Now, coming from the veteran and business world, how did you get into that transition to politics?
I wanted to make change, right? I saw how bad things were, and I'll give you a good example. The VA does some things right. One of the things it does right is, as an example, is education. If you want to get educated, the VA is very good at getting you into college. Well done. But when you have actual problems, like real mental problems, real mental issues, VA is not great. Some of you work for VA, don't be mad at me, it's just true. Not great, just isn't. And I know that because when I went to give them help, what I do for businesses and bankers and lawyers and tech guys, I was willing to do for free for my brothers coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. I was willing to do for free. The VA just could not make that happen. I had to go to nonprofits to make that work. And that was one of the things I saw in the breaking of government. It's so bureaucratic that often it can't get the job done the way a private charity, a private group can get it done. So that's one of the reasons why I thought, I got to fix this.
Now, I agree with you 100% on that. And, for me, a little background on me, the reason why this talk show or the work that I've done in the past, or even my political aspirations, have come from coming back home, having to deal with the GI Bill problems, and landlords not taking it as credible income.
Yep.
I was happy to say that the work that I did, making it into a national issue, and recently, Fordham University, I went back and they did an interview with me, and they finally connected the work that I did to Local Law 119, which helped
Nice.
the GI Bill as credible income for New York City. So boom, right? That's
Yes.
two situations where it comes in different point of views, different aspects, different parties, but one problem solved and how to get into politics. Boom.
Well, that's the thing that I love about the idea of having an independent party. Or even a non-mainstream, going to Conservative Party versus going to Republican Party, going Working Families versus Democratic Party, going Libertarian Party, We the People Party. When you have separate parties, you can do what you just said. You can do single-issue coalitions to get something done. But if it's just the two main parties, Republicans say X, Democrats will say Y because Republicans said X, right? Democrats say A, Republicans will say B because Democrats said A. But when there's a third party, that you can rally around that third party and go, I'm not fighting the other guy. We're getting together to get this thing done. You can make actual change.
So now, at the last time we spoke, you had to head out because you were going to get your nomination from the Libertarian Party. And where are you now?
This weekend, believe it or not, in the next 2 days, or 3 days, I should be nominated officially by the New York State Libertarian Party in Rochester, New York.
And now the goal is you're trying to get to your two parties,
Yep.
Independent parties.
The We the People Party should nominate me sometime in November.
And now getting into the independent now, because I more my background is understanding the main parties, and then
Sure.
I've done some work with the independent parties, but it was more just getting people on the ballot.
Right.
You're doing a different level. You're doing a governorship, so for that, it's a different ballgame. Would you try to break down a little bit?
45,000 signatures is what I need per line. Now you might say, Larry, is that really that many signatures? No, it isn't. 45,000, that number isn't the problem. Here's the problem. New York State has decided arbitrarily it must only be gotten in a 6-week period. They didn't say, just go get them. If you can get 45,000 people to say yes, you're on. That's not crazy. That's realistic. Someone could do that, right? If I'm going to cross the state, which I do, I go to every single county every single year, all 62 every year. If you're going to be on the ballot, you should be able to get 45,000. I'm not against that. But why in an arbitrary period, 6 weeks, and in a time where there are no state fairs and there are snowstorms in New York State? It's done on purpose to make sure you can't do it. That makes it impossible. And that's going to be our challenge. How do you do that? Money. It is going to cost probably $250,000 per line to do it. You're going to have to pay people to go out and get it. You're going to have to. There's no way around it. And they know that. And you might go, well, Larry, so what? Don't the other guys do it? They don't. Democrats, Republicans don't have to do this. They just get on the line. So because I'm independent, I have to pay an extra $250,000, and I may not get it because judges in this state are so broken and so beholden to the system that this is true. You know, if you live in Brooklyn, that your mailing address is Brooklyn, New York, right? Of course. No. The name of the county, and if you're a New Yorker, you know this, is actually Kings County. It's not Brooklyn. If you're watching this, you're not in Brooklyn, not in New York City, you may not know that. But the actual name of the county is Kings County. If you don't put Kings County and you instead put Brooklyn County, a judge will throw that signature out because it's a wrong signature. That's insanely stupid. That's unethical. That's broken. That's wrong. And they would do it every single time. Shame on our judges for that they would do that. So now I have to make sure not only do I have 45,000, but I have to have 45,000 perfect signatures, which means I have to have maybe 60,000. So 60,000 for each line. We're talking 120 to 150,000 signatures within a 6-week period. That's why no one was on the ballot in 2022. That's why no one was on the ballot in 2026, up to 2024. Let me keep going. When it comes to this, RFK Jr. spent $1 million in New York State. Couldn't get on the ballot because his address was wrong. And a judge said, you can't be on the ballot because your address is wrong. So let me ask you a question. If you were applying for your license, driver's license, and you made a mistake on your address, they would say, well, you have to wait till we give you a new one, or a fine or a fee or something like that, right? They do something like that. They wouldn't go, well, you can't drive for 4 years. They wouldn't do that. But for a ballot, they will. For the most important right in the entire nation, voting, for that they will. It's shameful. And I go one step further. Lee Zeldin in 2022, was the Republican nominee. He tried to get on the ballot. He couldn't do it. He tried an independent line. He couldn't do it. So to be clear, a guy who was a Kennedy with $1 million couldn't do it. And then the sitting congressman, Republican congressman, who was at the time the Republican nominee, he couldn't do it. And I would just go, that's fair. It's an embarrassment.
Well, on top of that, and I don't want to be nitpicking, but in that time period, in that situation, they'll find the most minuscule law to come at you and drop you off
Yes.
as well. like something that hasn't been used in 20, 30 years or something like that. They'll find it. Well, just to backtrack a little bit, so that the people may not know this, for, let's say, the political parties, Republicans, conservatives, Democrats, and the Family Working Party, well, actually, no, I can't remember the Family Working Party, but we have conventions where we pick who we want to be the governor. And so that's how we do our internal politics to alleviate that situation.
Yeah, people don't realize you don't have to do a primary if you don't want to. You're right.
Yes.
You can do whatever style you want to use.
Now, they can fight during the convention, and the repercussion of that would be if somebody wants to run independently to go against them. Which, once again, that time frame, the amount of money, it's almost, it's not an impossible thing, but it's pretty out there, you know. And you laid it out pretty well on the things that we have to be worried about. But if we fight it and we want to get it, you've already put some of the steps on what you want to do. Now coming here, trying to say, well, these are the reasons why I'm running. Would you break down at least 3 of the platforms that you would like to talk about?
I have so much. My biggest problem is I have too much content. Literally, if you go to my YouTube page, it's Larry Sharpe YouTube page, and type in 8 hours, I literally did 8 hours straight of policy on how to fix New York. No bathroom break, no eating break, 8 hours straight, and I ran out of time. I could have kept going. I cut myself off at 8 hours. This state is so broken in so many ways. But let me try to give you a couple of them. There's 4 points we should work on, right? There is affordability, opportunity, safety, and liberty. This is my full vision. If you can get those 4, you can get the full vision of it. Now, there's lots in each, but I'll give you one from me so you understand conceptually what we're talking about. When it comes to liberty, this is something that's heavily for the people who are, say, in the Maha movement, people who are more, even MAGA, I would say even, people who are medical freedom, those types of people. We should push for a constitutional amendment in New York State based upon the First Amendment to outlaw, at a New York State amendment to our Constitution, outlaw lockdowns. Most people think of the First Amendment as freedom of speech. True, that's true, but it's also freedom of religion, freedom of the press, freedom to assemble, freedom to petition our government. The lockdown breaks all 5 of those. It is 100% against the First Amendment. And the last time I checked that amendment, it doesn't say First Amendment unless I'm scared. I don't remember that part. I think it's just First Amendment, even if I'm scared. So that's the part of liberty that gets people freer so we can get out there and they can't lock us down and crush this like they did last time. Next, safety. Bail reform, big deal. People are mad about bail reform, unhappy about it. I love the concept of bail reform. I would like poor people to not be punished any worse than rich people. I get that completely. What they gave us was terrible. This was not the right bail reform at all. But it can be fixed. If I can't change that law, very simple, make a minor modification. That bail reform works perfectly for all first-time offenders. That's it. You make a mistake once, you get a shot. Hey, you screwed up. Here's your chance to get back in action. You get the benefits of no cash bail. You get the benefits of getting out. You get those benefits your first time. Why do I say that? Every single story we've seen of people who've gotten out and harmed somebody, every one of them, 100%, repeat offenders. All of them are repeat offenders. So you keep the repeat offenders in, those are the guys doing the bad stuff, and you give the guy who made a mistake, you give that guy a shot. You give him a shot, you give him the bail reform, you give him the chance, and hopefully he does well. That's safety. Let me now go to opportunity. What we have here in a case of licensing throughout the state is embarrassingly bad. Licensing and small businesses. We need to increase the ideas and the help with entrepreneurs like there's no tomorrow. We have failed horribly. Licensing should be reduced tremendously. We should just be a shall issue state. If there's no reason why you shouldn't have it, start your business, go. And I'll add one more piece to that. If you are a local business or local farmer in New York State and you agree that you will sell only to New York State, you should be immune from all federal regulatory bodies. You do that, now you can compete. Now the local diner can compete against McDonald's. Now the local business shop can compete against Walmart. You have a shot at competing because you're not getting hammered by federal regulations. You have a chance at competing before you grow bigger. Now let me give you affordability. Imagine if we created a trust in New York State, the New York State Social Trust, similar to like a sovereign fund that Norway has, similar to a sovereign fund that Singapore has, similar to that. And then that would pay for education. If that pays for education, depending upon where you are in New York State, that's about 50% of your property tax. Because about 50% of property tax across New York State is school tax. School tax goes away. If school tax goes away, property tax is cut in half, Seniors may stay, people might stay, housing can actually stabilize. We have a better chance of keeping people here and it being more affordable state. And I'll touch one thing specifically for farmers, and then one for city folk. For the farmers, number one thing for farmers is if we allow them to be treated just like small business owners, so that they can now create retail shops, they can create wholesale shops, they can create whatever they want in their own farms, they have a chance of keeping their families together and creating family businesses. New York City specifically, we could fix the MTA. How do we fix the MTA? Allowing freight to come into the city at night. Right now, the nighttime, what are we run 1/2, 1/3 now, right? How come every other train isn't a freight train? Bringing goods and services, I'm sorry, not services, bringing goods into New York City, keeping some of the trucks off of the roads, less wear and tear on the roads, less wear and tear on our bridges, and it'll have to be rebuilt because those freight trains are different. Great. You know who would actually rebuild it? Amazon would. So would FedEx. So would UPS. They would pay for it to give us a new system, and they'd have to, new rail, new everything, and even more importantly, they would have to put Wi-Fi in it so they can keep track of the trains. Wi-Fi in the stations, new trains, no one pays an extra dime, no extra tax. Nothing I mentioned in anything I talked about is extra tax, extra enforcement at all. Those are 4 libertarian ideas to move New York State forward with those 4 concepts. Does that make sense?
Yes. I mean, for the last one, for the Amazon, I can see and I can understand because a private company, you can go back and hit them hard for not doing what
Correct.
they said they're going to do.
Yes.
But if you do it with the government, then
it's 20 years and it
keeps
fails.
on going and keeps on going and keeps on going. Now, some of the things that you mentioned, let's say the MTA, the safety, these are things that are been plaguing New Yorkers for
20 years at least.
And then specifically for this current election cycle, for the mayoral election cycle, they keep on complaining to the legislators, make these changes, but there's not that time. You can't do it in this current election, or the mayor doesn't have the power to make these changes. This upcoming election for the governorship, that's where it is. You have the Senate, the state assembly.
Correct.
That's where we need to push on to have those legislative movement. But, what would you say for the people that are watching, people that want to get engaged? How would they go about to not only supporting you, but making those changes happen?
Yeah, the thing to remember is New York City is very special in that New York City is the only major city in the entire country that's not all within one county. Every other city across the country is all within one county. What does that mean? Since it crosses counties, the governor has a lot more control. It's not within one county, right? We don't have county executives, right? We have borough presidents who don't really have much power, but if you go outside of it, county executives actually have some power. Doesn't exist in New York City, so it's a different issue. Not just that our infrastructure touches other states, goes into Connecticut, goes into Jersey. So the president often has to get to step in, the federal government steps in. That's a very unique thing that New York City has that other cities don't have. So you're right, it's much more challenging as a mayor to get things done. We also have a very powerful city council in New York City, which is heavily left-leaning, as you know, which also challenges us. They keep doing bad things and have no idea why they're doing bad things because their ideology blinds them. So they keep doing ideological things that keep harming us, but they won't stop because their ideology blinds them to what's actually happening. So all problems, you're right. The way we fix that is making changes in the legislature, which is the state Senate. Our state assembly is far too democratic to be changed. Just is. They have a supermajority. The Senate, though, could. With 7 to 10 senators changing, becoming independent, you could control the state Senate with a swing vote. How do you get that to happen? Build an independent party with a powerful governor candidate. You're looking at one of them right now. Yes, do that. Build that out. And then you have enough independence to create a block that can actually stop things in the Senate. If you get a governor who's independent with that ability to block in the Senate, you can get things done. You can make the changes that you want to get changed.
Now, for one of the things that hit really specific this year, because we had multiple independent mayors run, and we had on the actual incumbent, switch over to be an independent.
Yeah, but only one was a real independent. Only Jim Walden was an actual independent. The other two were just, I don't think I can win my primary. So yeah, that's not really independence.
But from my knowledge, there's never been an independent mayor that has won.
Bloomberg.
Well, I mean, I think he's the exception with somebody who's doing
again, he wasn't really independent.
Dollars,
yes, exactly. But Bloomberg, yep.
Where do you see the chances or the percentages or the numbers for somebody in the governorship to win an independent?
Yeah, the reality of it is in 2018, when I got ballot access, The year later, 2019, I covered the state, and we had 107 local victories throughout New York State. So we went from 0 libertarians to 107 in 1 year. They were all local, city council, water board. We had one DA, I think it was Broome County, DA. We had one DA who was libertarian. All the rest were like city councils and small things like that. But good, happy. That's how you begin a movement, right? That's the vision. You make impact at the top, and then the ground level grows up. What I said before was, I'll break a hole. You guys got to follow me through. And that's how I think you do it. Now, can a governor win in New York State? Yes. Has it happened in the past? Yes, not New York State. Minnesota, 1996, I think it was. It was a 4? I think 96. It was Jesse Ventura. So about every 30 years it happens. Let's hope it happens again. It can happen. What happened was Jesse Ventura had an amazing debate, and that's how we won in a 3-party race. So we have a same option. How do we do that? New York State has matching funds now. Matching funds 6 to 1. So if I'm able to raise $500,000 from 5,000 New Yorkers, New York State will give me $3 million. With $3 million, this is a winnable race, my friend. I've already raised $500,000 twice. I raised $500,000 in my first run, $500,000 in my second run. I got to do it now, this time, from only New Yorkers. I get $3 million. Oh, I'm governor of New York. Because the second people see it, the reality of it is the Republican, whoever they decide to run, whatever sacrificial lamb they throw up this time, cannot win. No Republican has won a statewide election in this state in 23 years. Not senator, not AG, not governor, nothing. Now, locally, Republicans win often, right? If you like a Republican locally, please vote for him. Statewide, not going to happen. It's almost 3 to 1 Democrat-Republican. There are more independents in this state than there are Republicans. The numbers just don't match. Losing 300,000 every single year, the numbers aren't there. It's never going to happen. It's a fantasy. But when people see, wait a minute, okay, the state can't go red, but it can go gold. Sharpe was a libertarian guy. He could do it. How do we know? Because internal polling Republicans did back in 2018, they know something. 30% of the people who voted for me were registered Democrats. They know that's true. 30% were registered Democrats. So they know Democrats will vote for me. So when that happens, people go, wait a minute, we could do this. We could do this. And here's the best part. Money and support will come flying in from all over the country to turn New York away from being blue. Won't get red, but you'll get gold and it won't be blue.
Now, for transparency purposes, I want to make it very clear. The reason I asked that question is because I want more people to run for office. And I think the independent line gives people the opportunity to do that. I have my own methodologies for that and purposes as well. But the main goal is always to get more people to run and be active within our local government.
I agree completely. This is why I mentioned the 107 local. You are on the same page. I didn't win the election, but I think I won the election because I was doing what you said until Cuomo changed all the rules and destroyed my party. I was growing the grassroots. People were actually running locally. And now I'm trying for 2 parties, the We the People Party, which is RFK Jr.'s party, and Libertarian Party. Now you have 2 parties that you can actually work in. 2 parties you can actually, in your town, in your county, in your city, you can say, you know what? I'm going to run, and I don't care what the establishment Democrats or establishment Republicans are going to say. I don't care. I can run anyway. You might go, but Larry, how are you going to beat the establishment? Sometimes you can't, but that's okay. And the perfect example is RFK Jr. RFK Jr. ran last year, independent, didn't win. But Trump saw him and said, that's like 3-4 million votes. I would like those 3-4 million votes. That would get me over the top. I'd beat Harris in the popular vote if I got that. Maybe I should do that. Now, prior to that joining, Trump didn't have any policy on food or medicine. He had no policy on that. It wasn't part of his world at all. He was doing all other things. All of a sudden, RFK Jr. jumps on board, and we got MAHA, Make America Healthy Again. Where'd that come from? Now we got medicine and we got food. Now, if you like RFK Jr., awesome. I love it. I'm glad it happened. If you don't like him, okay, follow his methodology. Find a guy or a gal who can do what you want, who can push your issue, and have them run independent to your exact point. And then someone who's running, some established Democrat or Republican goes, I want those votes. Okay, I'll do the thing you said. This is my idea of single issue coalitions. You could run just say you care about gun rights, say you care about taxation, say you care about potholes, say you care about family leave, say you care about schooling, whatever. Run someone independent who cares about that issue. And then the other Democrat or Republican goes, I want those votes. Fine, I'll do the thing you want. Single issue coalitions to get stuff done. You're totally correct. That's the way to do it.
And for the ones that are in New York City, for you guys to understand, let's say, and don't quote me on these numbers, but let's say for the Democratic Party, we have like maybe 3 million and then for the Republicans, 500,000. So there's a percentage that it's always going to be uphill battle.
We're about 6-1 in New York City, Democrat to Republican. We're about 3-1 in the state.
And then for the conservative, we're talking about maybe 10,000, maybe less. So if you look at those numbers, obviously it's one-sided. But if you go to the, let's say, either the independents, or if you look at the individuals who are registered but without a party, they outweigh the almost all of them. So there's opportunity. We just got people to be more engaged.
You're correct.
With that being said, I laid that out for a reason. In the platforms that you talked about, they hit on a different party lines. If you can interchange and walk,
absolutely.
And walk in. And the last thing you said was when you mentioned your platforms was, that's why I'm going for the libertarian. Would you explain to the audience a little bit more what a libertarian is?
Yeah, what a libertarian is, it's someone who says you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want to be, but you just don't want to force that on others. So if you say to yourself, you know what, I love conservatism, the world should be more conservative, I think it's a wonderful thing, I ask you the question, should government enforce it? If you go yes, you're a Republican. If you go no, I should do it. Through my works, through my community, through my example, people should become more conservative. You're libertarian. I want to be liberal. Liberal is great. Awesome. Should the government enforce liberal views? Yes, you're a Democrat. No, they shouldn't. People should see how liberal I am through my works, through my example, through my family, through my community. They should want to be more liberal. You're libertarian. As long as you don't want to force your views on others, this is what libertarianism is. It's not selfishness, it's volunteerism.
Thank you for breaking that down, Larry. If somebody wants to reach out to you or help you or in any way get in touch with you, how would they go about doing that?
LarrySharpe.com is the website. If you live in New York City and you donate between $5 and $250. New York State will multiply that by 6. So if you want to support me, please go there, donate between $5 and $250, and boom, multiply by 6. If you don't live in New York State, give me money any way it matters, because what happens here is coming to you. Check out all my social media, Larry Sharpe, the social media, whether it's X, Twitter, doesn't matter. I'm on all the things. And lastly, if you want to volunteer, I need volunteers, so volunteer too.
And for those that like to be on the show, please feel free to email me at Gonzalo Duran, nyc@gmail.com. To get to know me better, feel free to check out my social media at Gonzalo Duran, NYC. Until then, and as always, God bless you and God bless America.